Hi everyone, happy Sunday. I had hoped to do this Friday, but I was busy helping my parents and my brother with a yard sale in their neighborhood. I even brought some stuff myself, which I'm very pleased that just about all of it sold. Um, yes, it included coloring books and supplies where I recently went through my room. So I didn't get rid of all the books, but I got rid of quite a few. And it was encouraging to see other people, I guess, near me that actually enjoy coloring because I haven't been able. This is the neighborhood my parents live in. Hadn't really been able to find anybody locally that enjoys doing it. So that was kind of nice to have some conversations with people. So I'll talk more about that. I might do a coloring chat Wednesday. I'll talk a little to that here in a minute. If not Wednesday, it'll be next weekend. This is going to be, I guess, relatively for me, a quick video. I wanted to just talk about where I'm at so far this month, and then all the September plans I had in that video a couple weeks ago, we're going to try to pare it down to what I think I can do in the next 2 weeks, which still won't be what I end up getting done, but at least I've pared down that stack a little bit more. So here we go. Let me adjust that a little bit. There we go. All right. Color by number tiny houses. I did complete another page in here. I did this page. I I'm trying to be a little more intentional when I use the darker, like this is almost all markers. And a lot of times when I color, like here, I'll use a lighter version of the marker and then take a slightly darker marker or the same one if I don't have a darker marker and outline it all the way around, like just ignoring shading, highlights, and everything, just outlining it entirely. And I still like the look of that, but I am trying to be a little more intentional in that when I use that darker marker, I use it more for the shaded areas and then maybe on the inverse use more like acrylic paint pens for the highlighted areas instead of outlining it entirely. And that's what I did here, and I thought it turned out looking really nice. But yeah, all alcohol marker with acrylic paint marker for the highlights, acrylic paint marker for the smoke. I was trying to keep it kind of loose looking so it would kind of be transparent like smoke. I didn't make it super transparent, but and then I thought it needed something in the blue. I'm really liking, I think it's like lavender blue, or it's like a bluish purple light color in the Ohuhu 216 set I've used in the last couple, in a couple pictures that I really like the color of it. So that's, I think, turning into my newest favorite color. But yeah, a lot of times with color by number books, I'll just straight color them and won't add in any shading or outlines. But like sometimes I just want to, and I did here. I don't know if I'll continue that through the book. There might be some pages that I'm like, I just want to do the marker and call it a day. But, you know, trying to focus on the things I enjoy and trying to focus on finding a balance between trying to do quantity over quality and also finding a balance between that and, hey, this is good enough. Let me walk away from this. All right. Cute Guy Moments by Joshua Dunbar. I did this picture. I actually used some of like the Instagram type tutorials. Um, the trees back here, and of course did an autumn scene, but the trees and bushes back here, I kind of casually watched a couple and then was like, okay, I can wing this. And it didn't quite turn out the way it was supposed to, but I still like them. They look kind of sparkly, so I'm okay with that. Did some marker blending and then used the outline again for some shading. Went in here. I'm trying to do some better work with clouds using like paint markers or I need to, I guess, look up marker cloud tutorials, but I'm trying to find a way to make them look wispy using paint. And the I did a couple last month, I think, in my Deborah Muller book, and then this one I tried some different things, and they look better, but they're still not where I want to get them. This is mostly just playing around with some different techniques, just because I was in the mood for it. But I did a lot of blending with markers on this, like particularly with the wood. Did a quick tutorial for the grass. I actually really like how the grass turned out. Um, and then everything else was just marker. I added a little bit of white gel pen and acrylic paint pen to the water. By that point I was like, okay, enough tutorials. I just want to be done. And I really like how he turned out. I'm pretty pleased with this picture. Like I said, I particularly like the grass in this one. And I think the blending and shading I did with the markers turned out really nice. And like I said, I don't necessarily hate the autumn, the the lighter colors I used with the acrylic pens in the back, but it wasn't the look I was necessarily going for. Again, trying to find a balance between it looks good enough, I'm happy with this, and and also, how much time do I want to spend on a picture. So uh, we have two pictures in my Halloween all year long Deb 2025 tag signed for this month, and I've done one of them, which turned out way better than I thought he was going to when I started. So I wanted to do something different with the background, so I used the Art Whale metallic watercolors. And I had seen a tip, I think it was Coloring Chemist, who had picked up some of this. It is a Winsor & Newton blending medium. And she said when you use like water brush pens, like the Arteza ones I use, where did they go? Oh, there's one. Take and fill the chamber with water, but put about 25% of it, add that blending medium. And it's supposed to help the watercolors blend together a little better. And I've been wanting to try it for a while, especially on Amazon, untreated Amazon paper. At the beginning of the month, I showed um, a video short of me treating a page with satin glazing liquid. I often have to do that with Amazon paper to be able to blend watercolors together, otherwise they dry too fast. And usually they make the page really fragile and crinkly and crunchy otherwise. So I've been trying to look to an alternative for that. And when I saw a blending medium, I thought this might make the watercolor stay wet longer and blend a little better than it normally would on Amazon paper. And so I wanted a shiny background, so we went with the Artwell metallic watercolors. And I have to say, I really enjoyed putting those colors on. I don't think I put it on a little thick for the black and purple, but by the time I was hitting this blue in the middle, I was starting to get into my element, in terms of practice. But overall, I do think that it blended together better. You still have to work quickly. Um, and again, this is metallic watercolors. I haven't tried this on regular watercolors, but you do have to work quickly. And there are some areas you can tell where, especially the black gray going to the purple, it didn't blend seamlessly, but it blended a lot better than it would have just not using the blending medium, because pretty much instantly when you put water on Amazon paper, it dries and you can't move the color at all. So this isn't this doesn't give you as much time as treating the paper with something like gesso or satin glazing liquid would give you, um, but in creating like a barrier on the paper. But this does give you more time than just plain untreated Amazon paper and not using this stuff. At least that's from this test what I found. And the blues blended together actually really well. I really like the blue section here and this blue kind of going into purple. And once again, I got kind of in the groove of it and was in my getting a little better at putting it down, putting the color down and stuff. I used 4 different colors in the back, just a gradual change from gray to, I think it was galaxy purple, to like a darker blue, and then finally a light blue around the cat bat, whatever it is. So yeah, really love how that came out. Then for the rest of it, I didn't really know 100% what I was going to do color wise. So I just kind of went with my color wheel concepts of opposite colors. I think the opposite of purple is yellow, the opposite of blue is orange. And so I started building my palette like that. And then just threw in like the teal, light, blue green as, you know, just a color I thought would go well with it. And I'm actually quite pleased with this palette. This came out pretty nice. And use markers as a base on most everything. I did use my super golden markers for the stars. Um, and then once I laid the base on the cat, I still wanted more glitter. So I used a glitter gel pen on the wings. And I used a super golden uh, orange metallic marker for his like little chest area and these little extra pieces up here. And everything else is marker except then I go in with Language gel pens, which I haven't used very often. And I went over the white outlines on the stars. I really like that effect. I think that helps bring a little more brightness to the page rather than just leaving those dark outlines. I think I used just the lightest color yellow in the yellow set, whatever they call it. I like that effect, that star effect, and I will be using that again. Then I just used other Language gel pens around the wings here, um, around this blob of whatever it is that I just made blue. Added in and then down here with this kind of misty looking thing. Um, the only problem was some of the gel pens weren't quite as bright as I wanted them to be. I really like that yellow, but like the blue I used and the orange and this kind of minty green color didn't dry as light as I wanted them, so I went back over them with a white gel pen to um, still maintain that kind of light orange look. And like down here, it's a little more white, but like not just making it a white outline, but like here a light orange outline, and here it looks more like a light blue outline. So just playing around with them, trying to figure out how I can use them, how I like them, how I don't like them. Um, and then just added in white gel pen on the cat and the bat for some highlights, and then some kind of white dots in the background. I would have liked to have done a splatter effect, but there was a lot of elements on this page to cover in order to do that splatter effect, and at that point I was, again, good enough. I love how this looks. Um, I don't need to go that far and spend that much time. But the result is fantastic. I don't use my metallic watercolors that often, and this really makes me want to get into them more. I mean, that background is gorgeous. The bat cat is also stands out in unique ways with the iridescent gel pen and the metallic marker. The stars stand out just as much as they need to without giving off a lot of extra. It feels like a nice balance of shine and then the alcohol markers and the acrylic Langwell pens. So I'm very pleased with this. It turned out a lot nicer than I thought it was going to. And so far, this is, I think, the page I'm happiest with this month. Just because it was something I tested that turned out really nice. And I'm very eager to try this on other Amazon pages with different watercolor type mediums to see what I can accomplish. So I would definitely recommend, you know, and I may do a whole video on this too, once I get, you know, 2 or 3 pages under my belt, maybe some different types of paper, just showing like what are some of the cool things this can do. I feel bad I missed out on watercolor summer because I just got burnt out over the summer. So now I'm getting into some of the watercolor stuff that I wanted to do over the summer, but you know, time. Dark Fairy Tales, still a whip. However, I made progress. Instead of going to this page and finishing out, I decided to go ahead and do this page. And the biggest reason was I had all the Inktense pencils pulled and kept out for this, and I wanted to go ahead and put them back in the pencil case. So I was like, well, let me just go ahead and use them over here and activate them. So I did, use the same colors I had over here. Plus it had been a while and I was starting to forget what was what. So I did that. Then I don't remember if you watched this one, but one of the things, Inktense can bleed through, like especially if you're using a lot of water. This one didn't, and that's because, I think partially because I used a Tombow water-based blender to activate it instead of like a water-based pen or a watercolor brush, to limit how much water was on the paper. And that did well on this too. As you can see on this side, nothing's come through. The background, I originally made this grayish color and I got done with it. I haven't done their skin because I don't feel like the Inktense has, at least not the skin tone colors I want to use. So whatever I end up using, pastels, pencils, or regular colored pencils, I'll just shade that way. But I done all this, which took a while. I think it was last Sunday I worked on this. And I had the background gray, and I was like, I don't really like it. There wasn't enough dark on this page for me. Now, granted, I am going to go in and shade with something to make some darker areas, but it still didn't have enough of a pop in the background, and I just didn't like that gray like I like it over here. And I didn't want to black this one out entirely either, because I do like the gray here. So I figured, let's black out the background here. I am really liking, let me tell you, I don't know if Amazon sells it on its own, but there are a lot of reasons, because I love blacking out backgrounds, and I love using, I love the Disney Color by Number books, which you'll see in a minute, where you have to do the black outlines. And I've talked about these markers before. These are a German brand, Molotov, and I was drawn to these. These are really expensive markers and limited in what the U.S. has access to on Amazon, because their website doesn't ship to the U.S. It didn't before current events, and it still doesn't. But I bought 2 smaller sets off of Amazon. I had splurged on them, and they come in little cases and look like this. And I've demoed them before. I like them. They, the biggest thing I was drawn to with these is that they're refillable. And so this has become my workhorse black acrylic marker, because it covers well. You don't have to do multiple coats. Actually, as we're sitting here, I see some of the edges need a little more color. But this just puts a solid base layer down. I am limited in how much time I have. I would love, I've seen people sit and work on pages where they can put multiple layers of color down to get a solid color, mix colored pencils to get specific colors. And I wish I had the time to do that, believe me, but I don't. So a lot of times I have to find shortcuts where I can. And if I can find markers like acrylic markers that lay down like a thick level of color right off the bat. I don't have to go over it multiple times. Um, those are going to be the ones I'm drawn to. Anyway, I've used this, I don't know, 2 or 3 Disney pages, and then to do this black background. This has worked so well. It has a like a smaller fine tip and then a bullet tip on the other side. Having any problems with clogging, every now and then I do have to shake the marker. It is initially you have to pump it to activate it, but like then it flows pretty well. Occasionally I will have to pump it to when it starts to go a little dry, to get it going again. But for the most part, this has been the best black acrylic marker I've had for coverage, and it keeps me from having to use black acrylic paint. I say all this to say I know I'm going to run out of this quick, and because I like that these are refills, I looked on Amazon and they have a smaller refill container. Like it looks like it's that big. It might be good for one refill or, you know, a couple. But then they had this one, which is 180 milliliters. And I can't read those directions because they are in German. And plus the big stickers over it. However, this will give me a ton of refills. I'm not sure how many exactly. This says, how much does the marker hold? Okay, gotta take my glasses off for this. It does not say how much actually fits in here at a time. Like I said, this may be on the back, and I can use the Translate app to figure that out. Anyway, in looking at the size of that and the size of this should give me a lot of refills for a long time. This was $20. I don't know if they sell just the black Molotov marker, but if they do, I will put it in the description because I feel like this is a worthy investment. If you like blacking out backgrounds with acrylic paint and you don't want to actually use paint, if you like using these to outline like Disney pages, like around the edges of the character, if you use, you know, a black acrylic marker a lot and it's kind of a workhorse, I think this might be the cheapest way to go to keep refills going. Now, how long the nibs last, I don't know. I also need to look at nib replacements, but I did want to note those. I will put those in the description if I can find them. Hopefully they just sell the black marker, because that is my go-to black from now on. And as you can see, it doesn't bleed through at all. I will be blacking out a lot more backgrounds, especially on double-sided pages with this. So anyway, did all that. Now, what am I going to do? I still don't know. I want to use colored pencil, mostly because I know some gel pen work's going to be used, and gel pen, while gel pen and colored pencil don't mix real well sometimes, they mix better than pastel and gel pens, because you get the pastel wet, then it might streak. I've run into that issue before. But pastel pencils are a lot faster for shading, and because this is a double page spread and there are other pages I want to get to, I just don't know if I have time to do colored pencil in this particular setup. So, still struggling. If I had 120 set of pastel pencils, let me tell you, there wouldn't even be an argument here. But there's only 72 in the pastel sets I have. I have not found a 120 set of pastel pencils. And colored pencils just give me, the sets I have just give me more color variety and shading opportunities. So that's why there's such a struggle. I'm also contemplating a white gel pen in her hair, but I'm worried if I crack that open, I will spend the next 3 months on every line in her hair from here to here. So, do I just outline the big lines? do I do that? And sorry, this keeps changing brightness because my hand. Do I outline every little line and just spend, a whole day doing that? I think it would look phenomenal if it was done, especially against this black. And it would really make it pop here. I just don't know. If you have any suggestions on how I could find a way to meet in the middle and compromise on that, let me know. I'm also going to use some iridescent green-blue gel pen on the ivy or the thorns, and then some gel pen on the roses as well. So, like I said, let me know if you have any ideas, but that is what I'm struggling with right now. And more than likely, it will be pastel pencils and then using the gel pen white. Otherwise, this won't get done till October. So, and finally, we have my Disney cats, color by number from Hachette Heroes. I did the next cat in the series, this handsome fellow from Aristocats. I can't remember his character's name. Again, all the black here, all the black outlines and everything was this powerhouse. Um, It would be best, I found it would be cleanest if I fill in all the other colors first, then we go through the black pen so that way the other paint doesn't encroach on the black line and then you have to go back over it. But it's easier for me to see the other colors and how they sit when everything's black outlined. So that is what I found so far, but I will probably still continue doing this method just because it's easier to see the shape of it and figure out where the colors are. I used a combination of acrylic markers. I managed to find some for everything. I didn't have to use any colored pencils on this one. So I used the Graby 60 set, 60 something set of the dual-sided acrylic markers. I used some Arctics markers, acrylic markers. Was that it? I think that was it. And the Arctics markers are probably the least opaque out of all of them. I found I used the wrong color here, so I went over with a darker color, but because they weren't super opaque, you can kind of see the two different colors, which is fine. I mean, it adds a little texture to the background. I don't necessarily mind that. But the Arctics markers I used on his stomach area, and I had to go over these multiple times, like 2 or 3 times to get it to look mostly solid. And you can see a little bit of streakiness in some of the other areas. So I would say like the Gravy and the Molotov, because I had a couple markers I used there too, are definitely the most opaque. I actually had to use at least one water-based marker. I think it was a Faber-Castell one for this gray. That's the biggest deterrent to these Disney books for me, is trying to find close matching colors as possible across all the different things I have. So my priority is acrylic marker because it's the easiest, but then I have like big Pitt pens, the Faber-Castell pen, water-based pens. I have Tombows that won't bleed through. So like water-based markers are my next check. And at the end of the day, if I can't find that, then I move to Prismacolor pencils, because 9 times out of 10 I can find a color match with a Prismacolor pencil, which is what happened over here. I used Prisma on him. One of the reasons I put them last is because to get that smoother look, I have to put a lot more pressure on them. It wears them down faster. They're not a super cheap pencil, at least they're open stock. And it is painful on my hands and arms when I use them. So it's much more enjoyable to me when I can use either water-based markers or acrylic markers. And acrylic markers give me the smoothest texture. Water-based is an acceptable alternative, but then finally I go with pencils when I just can't find the color I need. The more organized I get my acrylic markers, like all the Arctics ones aren't numbered. No, half of my Arctics markers are numbered. The other half, because they were in all different sets when I found them. Some were numbered, some weren't, and it's just a confusing mess. And I'm hoping to come up with a system where I can at least swatch them and keep them sorted without having to individually label each one, because I don't have time for that, and I don't want to do it, is the most important thing. There are other more fun things I want to do with my time. And then, like I said, water-based markers are fine, but they can be streaky. Like here was a water-based marker, and you could tell there's a little bit of streak. I think this is a little, I went over it a couple times, so it's not too bad, but they can be streakier. So again, I try to use them as a last resort. This was, I believe, the Arctics markers. I at least try to go in the same direction so they aren't super patterned looking. This is a water-based here, this pink. I at least try to keep the lines going in the same direction so it doesn't look too crazy. This one is also mostly water-based marker. I still love this. I love the smoother look of this so much more. So, just working my way through my cat's book. If you don't want to be spoiled, you don't have to look. But, let me see who's next. I think it's from the Lion King 2. I do not recognize. I guess he kind of looks like a young Scar. I won't show you the actual picture. So he's next. That'll be interesting. There's a lot of blues, like teals in the background, darker browns. That's a fairly simple colored picture, so that might be pretty easy to knock out. So yeah, that is what I've worked on. I actually talked a lot more than I thought, but usually my mid-month check-in is to tell you more process-based stuff about what I did, show you things. At the end of the month, the completed pages is more, here's the pages, here's what I used. So what I'll do at the end of the month is I'll still talk about like what I use on the pages, but I'll refer back to this video if like you really want more details on stuff. Or if people are interested like in the blending medium and some of the other stuff, I can always do a follow-up video on that. Alright, what am I going to do the rest of the month? Hopefully it's not, I get scared I'm going to upset the universe if I talk about it too much, but the second part of the month doesn't seem too bad at the moment now. October could rev up to be pretty busy just based on my gut assumption. So I'm going to try to take advantage. But we're going to be coloring in October because it is my month of the year for coloring, with a combination of all my favorite things. So I'm not worried about that. But the rest of September hopefully should be not super crazy. So I did 1, 2, 3, well, 3 and 2.5, 3, 4, 4.5 pages, which is actually pretty decent for me here lately, for the first half of the month. So, for the remainder of the month, if I could at least hit that, then we'll be doing good. I have the second page in our, Halloween All Year Long book, which is the Ghosts Roasting Marshmallows. Not 100% sure what I'm going to do here. Probably just marker with shading and acrylic highlights. Some pencil work might be nice on this one. The way it's split up, either pastel pencils or colored pencils, I might actually do a little bit of shading on these. I've stayed away from that in this project just because I have, multiple pages in a month to complete, and pencil work is time consuming for me. But the way these areas are split up in here, this may not take very long to do. So you might see a little bit of shading and pencil work in this one. I try to do different stuff just to mix it up a little bit in there. I try to. One I didn't talk about at the beginning of the month was a Joanna Basford page. There is Samway's Coloring on Instagram has a tag, like a fall coloring palette to use in a Joanna Basford book. Yeah, I guess I should preface this by saying I'm not going to get to all these pages, and I might actually do different pages, not specified here, or different books. But this is what I'm thinking. I thought I'd like to do both of them, but if I'm really pressed for time, I might do this little guy in the autumn colors because I think it would be really cute. I haven't seen a lot of dragons with like autumn colors on them, so I thought he would be a really good choice. And I might look in her fantasy book and see if she has another flowery dragon like that. There are space pictures in here, but I just don't think I'm going to have time to do those for Space Timber. So that was another one I was thinking about. You do have the little wiener dogs too. I'm thinking probably the dragon. Or something thereof. These would be pretty too. So it's going to be one of these animal pictures, I think, where there's leaves on them is what I think I'm going to do that with. And plus, you know, I can use just pencil if I want, or a little bit of acrylic marker. And yeah, that should be fun. It'll be nice to finally color one of my Joanna Basser books since it's been a while. I still have Tammy from Tammy Colors 2 and I are going to start working on this book together. I have this one. She said she's probably going to do this page, which I would also love to do this month. But we have the first page to do. Um, Probably just going to stick with markers for this one. I might try to look up some tutorials on like quick crystals and kind of rough it like I did with that Joshua Dunbar picture, like not spend a lot of time on it and see how that works out. Um, no idea on colors yet, though a fall color palette would be interesting if I could do something different with the crystal colors. I don't know. Let me think about that. I gotta think about that one. And then this would be good to do too, because I could just do the same thing with the crystals here. Yeah. Might even try a little bit of watercolor in that one. Easy Fantasy. I did a YouTube short that got a lot of attention. I feel like I keep showing how to do this, but maybe, I mean, people just aren't seeing it. So hopefully you don't get bored with me continuously showing this, but in that short, I showed very quickly how to treat a page. I prefer to use the Golden Satin Glazing Liquid in order to use watercolors as intended on Amazon paper. As I mentioned earlier in the update, right now watercolor Amazon paper is so thin, so textured, so just difficult to work with watercolors. Really fragile. Most of the time, if you paint water on there, you are stuck with that line. Like it won't blend out. It streaks really easily because it dries so fast, and it's hard to get things to blend. It's hard, and the more you try to work at it, the more likely you're going to tear the paper. You have to let it dry completely, then it will not move at all. So watercolor can be very difficult to use in Amazon books. I, of course, am trying to find ways around that. One way is to pre-treat the paper to create basically a barrier and turn it into more of a watercolor friendly page. There are different things people use: watercolor ground, clear gesso, and then this. It says for acrylics, but this is my favorite one for watercolors I've used for the past probably 5 years. I don't know if it's the full 7 years, but this creates the least amount of texture on the page, while gesso creates, it would go in the order of this is the least amount of texture, gesso is in the middle and the watercolor ground makes it really textured. I'm also trying to look at, because I don't like using colored pencils on super textured paper. I don't like the look of it. Um, and so if I have a page like here where I'm more apt to use colored pencils on, this guy here, but I want to do watercolor in the background, I may just do the background with this and just kind of spot treat it. Or here, I would do the background and then not treat this if I'm just going to use like markers and colored pencil. But in this case, I did go ahead and do the whole page because my plan is to use a regular watercolor palette mostly on this page. I don't know if I will change and add a little bit of shading in here and there. Pastel pencils probably wouldn't be too bad because I can use those minimally. But we're going to try it with this, and I had a lot of interest in showing the process on this, so um, I'm hoping I can do it this month. If not next week, maybe the last week of the month is what I'm thinking. So, fingers crossed. I haven't done a full watercolor page in about 2 years, so I'm going to have to go back to that page and look at how I did it and see if I can replicate that. Anyway, fingers crossed because I really want to get into this book. All right. This might be sacrificed in place of the Joshua Dunbar one. Flights of Fancy. I've been in a mood for owls the last couple months. I thought this would be a great one where I've used this in here before. It helps a lot with blending watercolors. I see a lot of people use inks, but given this type of background is where I would want to use a watercolor wash, or I'd want to use watercolors and then come back in with maybe gel pen on the leaves and like the glasses and stuff so that I could just paint it one color quickly and then go in and do the detail work. If I'm trying to use inks, it's going to be a little more difficult to do that. So I do want to try inks. I'm just not going to try them on this picture. But yeah, I will probably at the very least use this on the background, especially if I do like a intermingled watercolor. I might use the gradient watercolor Kuritakis that I've got. We'll see. And then this little guy will be a pretty easy color. I might use Neocolor 2s. I might not use just regular watercolors. I might use like Neocolor 2s or King Art gel sticks or something relatively quick to create the background, do a base on him, and then come in with pencil shading. So I hope I don't have to sacrifice that one. This one is, I'm never going to color in my mythographic books. It's just really feeling that way. They're just so detailed, and I get so, I love that page. If I'm going to do it, it's probably going to be in this book because I have multiple pages in this book that I've been drawn to over the years. I really would like to do this page. My problem is I don't know yet how I want to approach it. I've seen so many cool versions of this. And I mean, the sunflowers, if I stick with regular sunflower colors, that's cool. The pier, I can probably do. The water, like if I stick to conventional colors, that's pretty straightforward. But then this gets tough because if I want to black out the background with my acrylic marker, what do I do about all these little stars? Or do I just use pencil and try to come back in with a white gel pen over those to make them last? I don't know. I might try to look this picture up and see if I can find how other people have done it. I'll probably keep the weird objects in it. I'm not going to carefully come in here, put a layer of acrylic, and then like make them disappear. I'm just not going to do it. Anyway, this is what's blocking me right now is I just don't know what I want to do with this picture yet. So, we're going to try for Space Timber, but I think that one's probably more on the chopping block than like the Flights of Fancy. One thing this week I did want to note, I mentioned, I think in my previous video, that I didn't realize King Art has expanded their product line so much. I love their gel crayons. I don't use nearly as much as I should, but I love them. And it turns out they have a whole lot of things. They have gel pens, they have colored pencils. It's just a 72 set. I'm not going to get it. Um, I've said no more 72 sets. It's got to be 120 set or more. The 72 sets I have, I'm okay with, but I'm just not going to get any more. And I can explain why in another video. I might do that in my color in chat. But they also do acrylic markers. And so I know I said I had enough of everything. However, I was really intrigued by how these look. They have acrylic brush pen markers. This is, I believe, the pastel palette. And they've got a brush tip. They are, you don't have to pump them to activate them. Plus they're pastel colors. I'm sure the other sets I have pastel colors. I know I don't have them in my Molotov. But it would be nice to have some pastels. So I did get the pastels. I also got the, I guess, basic colors. They have other colors that were sold out on, I went to the King Artist site, and they had other sold out colors on their site. As far as I know, these aren't refillable, but they might be open stock. I'll look more into that in the video I'm going to use these in. I also, because I have that Graby dual tone acrylic paint marker set, Graby's prices have been creeping up since they've been increasing in popularity. But King Art also has a 36 set. And I actually already like this because I like the plastic case that they're coming in. Hopefully they're all, I haven't even tried to open it yet. Hopefully they don't just all fall out. No, they pop in and out. I already like this case a lot better than I like the Graby plastic trays. I want to try these out because I think these might be a comparable. But we're going to see. And then I got some white and black. These are extra fine tip. I think I got the wrong ones. Always looking for a white acrylic pen that actually goes over stuff, covers it up, and doesn't look yellowish when I put it on the page. So far, I've not been very lucky in that. They also sent me a sample pack. They have an ink line pen, a gel pen, another paint marker. Their paint markers are difficult because they have these pro acrylic paint markers, like these bigger ones. I think they're bullet tip. Let me look. And then a tempura. Tempura is food, Michelle. Yeah, these are brush tip. Oh, sorry, activated. Look at that. Not brush tip, bullet tip. Man, my words today, I'm falling apart. Tempera paint stick, which is an interesting idea. I've never even thought about using tempera. I keep wanting to say tempura on paper, or how it would activate or whatever. So that is an interesting concept as well. Anyway, I say all that to say I wanted to get these and try them out and show people, because these might be a good acrylic marker alternative. We'll see how they, like I said, I've been the least impressed with my Arctics ones so far. Graby does decent, except some of their colors aren't too opaque. The Molotov have been fantastic. I have a whole bunch of other old markers like Arteza that hopefully are still active. I've got to test them out. But I just thought these would be a neat thing to try to show people, because I imagine everybody else, a lot of other people don't know they exist. And for Space Timber, I wanted to do this picture with the cat. Socks. I never watched the thing it's in. So I'm hoping Wednesday I can do a color and chat and use at least some of these King Art sticks if we have the colors match up. Uh, if it doesn't work on this page, I will find a page. It's going to be a demo of the King Art paint pens and acrylic paint markers, and we'll see how they do. I also have a project book for October. Camelia Angelkova came out with a 31 Days to Halloween book that I did pick up. I will do a flip through probably next Friday, along with I'm thinking about ordering some Etsy pages. We'll do that next Friday. And then I don't know what I'm doing past that yet. Oh, sorry, we're still in plans. Ah! Boy, this video took a while. Million Cute Animals. I really want to do at least this page. And I don't know what I'm doing with it yet. I would say comfortably the quickest way would be a gel. I don't like the King Art gel sticks in these, but some sort of watercolor medium in the background, maybe as a base, and then shading with pastel or colored pencils, and then coming in with some gel pens and maybe some of the super gold markers for some nice little shiny elements. Or metallic paints. The metallics looked really nice on that one page. I'd like to do this one in tandem with that, but that's probably not going to happen. This is on the chopping block space from Hannah Carlson. I still don't know which page I want to do in here, which is part of my problem. I really wanted to try using the granulating Kuretake watercolors in a Hannah Carlson book, because I think they would make really great backgrounds. I like this page a lot. I just think it's fun. I feel like this is more of a fun, casual page. I could do something with. I don't know. I have two. I want to do R.J. Hampson the next page in Moonlight Mischief, which is this picture. If I can't do that, I would like to complete one of the pictures in his Asleep book. So there's that. Which Chibis, Alexandra Francis, I want to do the page with her and the little alien. This was one, yeah, this is one where I wanted to try to create a background. Again, with maybe this stuff, but I don't know if I'm going to have time. We may just have to do marker and then kind of outline the fellers, the gal and her little friend for Space Timber. I also try to do a page in every new Joshua Dunbar and Alexander Franzese. I say that as Alexandra Franzese. There's Alexandra Danman. Probably not going to get to a picture in here, though I want to for Hello Autumn. If not, we will tackle that either next month or November. I'm at least going to do a page in here. And same thing here in the Mariola Budek one I downloaded. It's either going to be this. It's going to be a picture between now and November. I just don't know when I'm going to do that. I also want to do a page, either a Sugar Sweet, S-U-G-A-H. I want to do either a Etsy page, like a digital page from him, or a page from one of his books. I do have a Christmas Carol series that I do want to, focus on maybe in December. I did one and I never did finish the others. But I forgot him at the beginning of the month that I do want to do a page. There's just so many. I mean, if you like to color, how it goes. So that is the rest of the month. Like I said, if if we're saying let's be real, Michelle, Like if I had to say 100%, I know I can, barring any other issues coming up, that I could complete. And I gotta have the Halloween page. That would be it, probably. If I just said at a glance, these are the ones I'm doing this month. For the remainder of the month, minimally this. With this one being on probably the next one on the block. But we're going to see. I'm going to challenge myself. I also have a bunch of color by number books that I would like to get to that might get interspersed there. But like I said, it's a challenge. We will see. That is where I'm at for the middle of the month. It's been a good month so far for coloring. I feel like I have done not only a good amount of pages given recent, recent completed pages, but I've been using a variety of mediums. I've been using my metallic watercolors, acrylic paint pens, markers. I just need to find some stuff to use some pencils in, and maybe my pastels and my colored pencils will be featured this month. So you're gonna, and regular watercolors, you're gonna see a variety of mediums from me this month, which is also unusual. So, fingers crossed, right? Like, let's see how it goes. I hope you have a good rest of the weekend, a good start to the week. Again, Wednesday should be a demo, hopefully, of the King Art. I will be using other acrylic pens, but we're going to try to make the majority, or at least, you try 2 or 3 of these in whatever picture. Those and at least 1 or 2 from this to see how they do compared to some of the other markers I've been using in a Disney Color by Number book. And I will catch you up on what's been going on because it's actually been pretty busy the past week. And it'll also be busy Tuesday because I'm leaving the house to go to an event. The local cat rescue that I donate to is having a fundraising event. And on a Tuesday night, no less, I'm leaving the house in the middle of the week. And it's in a town close by. And I just thought I might go for a while, meet some fellow cat people. I do not have opportunities to meet people in my area that have similar interests because I guess I'm a little different than most of the people my age in this area. It is a very not, and this is not negative in any way, but is very conservative, um, family family oriented doesn't sound right. Not a lot of childless couples. Um, Not a lot of interest other than like, working in sports and doing things with their kids and things like that. Like it is a very parent conservative centralized area that I'm in, and nothing wrong with that. That's what I've grown up in. They're great people here, and it's not to say I don't have friends in this community or people that I love and appreciate. It's just my interest in who I am as a 40-something-year-old doesn't jive well in this town. It's one of the reasons I'm looking to move down the road, just because I feel disconnected. And that's why I come online, because I find you awesome people and I don't feel so alone. And but it would be nice, I guess, to go out and be social with people face to face. And my obsession with cats and cat rescue, and that's very on brand for me. And so that is something, I can connect with some people on. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And hopefully I may not be able to talk about it fully Wednesday because I'll probably pre-record the video, but maybe I'll do it Thursday or something. We'll see. I don't know. But anyway, This turned out longer than I expected. I will try to put timestamps in. I will put that stuff in the description if I can find it. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.